What's good, fellow outcasts and other rejects? Welcome to WTZ, the Anime Outcast. First off, if you're new here, we upload anime what-ifs based around My Hero and other shows alike. Secondly, did you know 80% of our audience is not subscribed? So in order for us to continue to make good content, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Now without further ado, let's get into the video. We pick up this part of the series with our protagonist after so long. He sits restrained in a dingy bar, surrounded by repulsive members of the League of Villains. His bindings are relatively simple. His legs are chained to the chair, with a harness around his chest. Then, for his arms, they were kept shut in metal boxes. If he really wanted to, he could worm out his broken arm through that would do little good. Throughout the time he was captured, Izuku faded in and out of consciousness due to numerous reasons. From hunger to injuries, though it appeared someone had performed very basic medical treatment to keep him alive. Deku suspected either Kurogiri or Mr. Compress, as they seemed to be the only ones nice enough to do so. During this very moment, our hero struggles to stay awake and pay attention to a conversation going on in the bar. "So you're telling me this kid over there is transforming into aliens? That's ridiculous! Makes perfect sense to me!" Twice, and his other side exclaims to his boss, Shigaraki. "It doesn't matter what you believe me or not. You've seen him transform firsthand, and that's good enough for my master to want that power," croaks the hand-covered man, glaring at Midoriya as he speaks. "My Lord Vilgax was dispatched more of his fleet in the coming hours to retrieve the Omnitrix and its user. Expect your payment during the transfer of the human," announced the drone, who sat on one of the bar stools, though a different one from before, as Shigaraki took rage out on the last one. From there, the bar emerges in a senseless chatter, with each league member having a different question. To mention a few, Toga asked if she could try some alien blood, and Magna asked if he could get some intergalactic warlord in command. Though as the bar becomes painfully loud, one voice cuts over the crowd. Now, everyone. You're giving Midoriya a headache." Someone jokes from another location, projected by a wall-mounted monitor. All eyes stare at the screen. All for Kurogiri, who continues to tend to the bar while in the world of his own. "Now, I'm sure you all have a lot of questions, my new comrades. Rest assured, I will answer all due time. But first, could you please discuss new arrangement with Vilgax Proxy, my dear Tamura?" declares the mastermind of this all, the symbol of evil, all for one. With a sinister glee, Shigaraki removes his hand ornament and shuffles over to the drone. Then, as the machine locked onto its crusty face, the villain gasps at it by the neck, slowly decaying it. "I'm afraid my master will be taking the Omnitrix for himself. Go tell your boss we don't need him anymore," cackles the uprising symbol, adorned with a large grin, as the robot fades to dust. Izuku stares on, his jaw wide with fear. He had been warned about Vilgax by his otherworldly counterpart. "So, if we don't need that space guy anymore, how are we removing the watch from the little runt?" questions Darby, which causes his leader to smile. "Well, the Omnitrix has some pesky safeguards in place for anyone who dares to remove it. But we've never seen it stop anything like my quirk," mutters the growing villain, extending his hand as he slowly shuffles over to the captive. In a desperate attempt to save his own life, Midoriya starts roaring at the villain as if he were Bakugo, hoping to scare him. Though this does not deter Shigaraki. As all things look hopeless for Izuku, a strange blessing occurs. "Hey, did someone order a pizza?" a regular voice explains from the back door, causing Tamura to stop dead in his tracks. At first, he clams at the door before turning his disciples for an explanation, but instead, they all throw around the blame until pinning it all on Twice. Although they would find out how mistaken they were. "Smash!" bellows the symbol of peace as he breaks his way into the League's primary base. The resultant entry sends random debris at Shigaraki, causing him to tumble back and away from his watch wielder. Then, more heroes flood in, like Kamai Woods, who binds the villains. Izuku's eyes light up as the sight of his idol coming to rescue him, even more so as he peers through the door he has made, seeing a few masked yet recognizable plumbers outside.
Sorry that I kept you waiting, young Midoriya. These villains didn't make it easy for me to find you,
Toshinori exclaims with a proud smile as he approaches the former hostage. Then, the hero punches through the metal block attached to his student's arm, ripping off the rest of his restraints afterwards. As Shigaraki regains his vision after the blow, the sight of All Might sets the young adult off the deep end. Cursing at the symbol of peace, he blames the hero for everything that ever wronged him. This gets a curious eye from the number one hero, asking the hand villain to elaborate. Though no explanation would be given, as instead, Shigaraki demands Kurogiri unleash the Nomu upon the heroes. As the dubious warp villain starts to expand his purple mist, something pierces his upper chest and leaves through his back. Kurogiri then slumps over, with Edgeshot appearing behind him. With the group getaway now gone, Dabi tries his own plan to render Kamai Woods into charcoal, but as flames start dancing around his hair and arm, Gran Torino comes swooping in to incapacitate the burnt man. Within the span of a couple minutes, not only had the League lost their prize from the forest camp attack, though their main base had been ruined, however, Shigaraki isn't blind to the stakes at the moment, so he does the only thing he knows. Crying to his master, Tamura calls upon One for All's vast power, and just like that, the devil answers his protege's prayer. A chilling laugh emits from the computer as a strange black fluid leaks from seemingly random places, from thin air to the mouths of the League of Villains and Izuku, spawns with the black goo. One by one, the liquid engulfs a person, replacing them with a rabid Nomu. Izuku is the first to go, with All Might failing to grab him before he teleports. From within the goo that wasn't tethered to someone else's emergence, the Nomu, who also appeared outside. As everyone is transported to the destroyed Nomu factory, they're greeted by the man behind this all. "It's poetic, isn't it?" exclaimed the Dark Emperor as he hovered in the air, looking down at his followers and Midoriya, but our protagonist stays quiet, staring at All for One with rage in his eyes, one gained from a friend. He could see the corpse of his mentor, Best Jeanist, lying on the floor. The boy born without any power of his own goes on to wield a device with almost limitless potential, finishes the villain as he slowly lowers himself to the boy's level, his left hand outstretched and open. Midoriya tries to backpedal away from the mastermind, but is stopped as the League's members recover from their forced movement. As All for One touches the ground, he starts explaining something. "Oh, my dear Midoriya, I'm afraid it's in your best interest to relinquish the Omnitrix from yourself. A young child like yourself couldn't even begin to comprehend the bigger picture, as that watch is the key to a power struggle so vast, even I have trouble thinking." Deep down, Izuku knew what All for One meant. His Universe 10 counterpart warned him off during the midpoint of their adventure together, along with the warlord known as Vilgax. But still, he wasn't going to let some monster who was willing to kill students get his hands on the watch. "Like hell I'm going to give it away! I've come too far to turn back now!" roared the boy, sounded more like Bakugo than himself. Izuku looks at the Omnitrix, seeing it green and ready to go. Then he limply slaps the watch with his broken arm, only barely managing to get the dial to pop up. Yet again, it was also another silhouette he did not recognize. But it wasn't like he could easily turn the dial. With no other choice, he goes to slam down the dial, only to find out that he didn't have enough strength left. Panicked, he frantically looks for more minor villains behind him and All for One in front of him, feeling trapped. As a symbol of evil lets out a light chuckle, he raises himself back into the air. "There you are," he announces out loud, scaring the nearby student rescue team. From their perspective, it was as if they're being addressed by the villain. Then, from the sky, comes a blue and red blur smashing against the dapper man. A massive wave of air pressure sends the remaining characters flying out of the area. This also levels what's left of the ruined building, rendering it rubble. When Izuku hits the ground, the Omnitrix dial is pushed down, resulting in a form change. As the flash subsided, the evil group was met by a new strange transformation. The creature is a mix of bat and ogre in complexion. His entire upper body is covered with green eyes, a gaping mouth, and a huge pair of bat-like ears. In addition, he has dark yellow skin with light yellow skin on his chest. This uniform consists of black pants and a white belt with an Omnitrix symbol. His numerous eyes gave him a full 360 vision of the area in this form, allowing him to look at both the League and All For One.
Ah, it took you long enough, All Might. I see your body hasn't fared well after our last encounter, exclaims the older quirk user as he repels the hero using a combo of powers he called Air Cannon.
With his greatest threat gone for a couple seconds, All For One took time to get his successor and allies to safety. Using Force Quirk activation mixed with Ribbit Stab, he used Kurogiri's unconscious body to manifest a portal. Though this gets some backlash from Magna, who asks why the mysterious man couldn't just warp them out of there himself. Staying scarily polite, All For One explains how his warping quirk is still new to him and how it wouldn't work in this scenario.
Holy shit! All Might is here! He looks pissed!
Kirishima announced, wide-eyed while gazing upon the fading symbol. He'd only seen All Might this angry once, and that was during the USJ. Getting back on track, as the two juggernauts start trading blows as the League's other members start surrounding Midoriya. They're willing to drag him out of their dead if they have to. One after another, each villain takes a turn attacking the alien. Despite his odd shape, Izuku's new form is oddly nimble and agile. This allows him to dodge most attacks from Twice and Toga with ease. When it comes to Mr. Compress, Deku has a rather rough time moving away from him due to paranoia. He didn't want to be trapped in one of those marbles again. But as he moves out of his reach, he accidentally gets into the range of Magna and his large cloth weapon. He sees the villain go to strike with 3 eyes on his shoulders, mere inches away from him, but the panic of his mistakes triggers something, like a natural reflex in his body. From the optics shoots out a green electricity, basically tasing the Magnet Man. This briefly freezes Kenji in place before dropping him to his knees.
Oh, you guys are really in for it now,
snarls the Opticoid, a sharp-toothed grin forming on his mouth. Though this does not level the playing field for him, as he was still outnumbered and severely drained. The same goes for his teacher, All Might, as he had held back considerably to avoid Izuku in his crossfire. Bakugo easily picks up on this as he observes the fight, intently looking for the perfect opening. As the blonde converses with his team about rescuing Deku, it seems rather one-sided. Katsuki seems all in to rush and grab the boy, but Momo doesn't want to risk contact with the other villains.
Look at them! They're holding each other back! If we don't get Deku, someone is going to die!
Argues Bakugo, barely holding back his rage as not to be found.
Then maybe we should try and find a compromise. Something that keeps contact with the League of Villains minimum, but to get Midoriya.
Jodo tries to reason in the hopes of finding a miracle ground. This gets the ball rolling for the group to create a plan. Koyami gives an idea.
If you could get me closer, Dark Shadow could be able to extend enough to grab him. Though getting away is also a problem.
This sparks something in the Dynamite Blonde, causing him to smile.
You in a fight, boy?
Asks Katsuki, getting a shock reaction from his avian comrade. He's taken aback by the question, not understanding what's being implied. As the all-out clash continues, the two heroes are constantly on their back feet. All they both need is a saving grace to get Midoriya out of there. And almost on cue, an ear-shattering boom echoes throughout the destroyed city block. All eyes dart to one side of the area to see Bakugo and Kirishima and Tokoyami shoot forward, crashing through the wall they hid behind. Then, a glacier in the shape of a ramp forms in the path, causing them to soar into the air. As the three continue to fight, Tokoyami conjures Dark Shadow and calls upon him to grab their friend. Abiding by his master's will, the Shadow's monster sends one into his arms, extending like a rubber band to snatch the alien
and then jet out of the scene.
You guys!
The ogre cheerfully bellows, forming a large dumb grin as he flies through the sky while tethered by a dark shadow. As the group of teens soars through the night sky, All Might, now accompanied by Gran Torino, gasps at the sight. The veteran hero then remarks how his class is really taking after him, which isn't a compliment. All For One lets out a light chuckle as the target escapes, even though it means his master plan had failed. That boy has doomed us all. How sad this story will end, laughs the Dark Emperor as he turns his attention towards his surrogate son and his accomplices. By forcefully using the knocked out Magnus Quirk, the remaining Leaguers are sent flying into a warp gate. Shigaraki cries out once more for his master, trying to grab out for him before he's completely submerged in the darkness. Now, with all successes off the battlefield, it evens out the fight for both sides. The next few moves play out like the canon, with the evil above all playing the two heroes like fools in his advanced arsenal of quirks. It all culminates in the enhanced air cannon, his arms inflate into the size of his entire body. With black energy pulsing off his shaking arms, All For One unleashes a blast that could level a city block. As All Might bears the brunt of the attack because there's a trapped damsel behind him, his right arm muscles collapse into itself. Though within the rest of the cultivated strength within him, he pushes against the kinetic wave to protect what remains behind him. Now, most of you are probably thinking, why hasn't he fully reverted to his withering form at this point? Well, it's rather simple. This version of All Might is still the main vessel for One for All, not to mention that he hasn't had to use his precious energy as much thanks to Izuku. You're willing to go through all of this pain just to save one useless life? I shouldn't be surprised, comments the suited villain as he watches for All Might's next move. But the pillar doesn't move. Instead, he's glaring at his broken arm, lowering it from its punching position. This gets the ageless Shigaraki to mock the cornered hero one last time, briefly explaining how he and Tamura met, or rather, how he and Tenko Shimura met. As the hero stays still, resented himself for not only hurting the grandson of his master, but allowing him to be in such a dark situation, a voice called out, one that's raged on like a fresh forest fire.
What the hell? Why have you stopped fighting?
Roared Endeavor, flying across the night sky like a shooting star. Following the number 2 hero's lead, multiple more pros flow into the city wreckage, helping in any way that they can. Of course, I almost forgot about how much little pest heroes are, murmurs the villain, as a new combatant joins the fight. The Fox Prairie Knight stays high in the air and rains down white-hot streams of fire. All For One dodges the Hell Spider beams with ease by mixing his airwalk and his cannon quirks. But as Endeavor goes to slice through him with said beams, the Quirk Collector employs a new idea, combining his own Warp Liquid ability with Rivet Stab. All For One manifests a liquid portal right behind the fire hero, which 2 tendrils shoot out from. The fibrous limbs stab themselves into the back of Endeavor, causing his quirk to go rampant. Erupting into a giant fireball, Enji quickly overheats before plummeting down the debris below. With the hero down for the time being, All For One turns his attention to All Might once again. But as he physically turns, a fist breaks through his black mask, and as his faceware shatters, the dapper villain is sent flying back, only stopping his descent by conjuring a yellow wall of air behind him. Then, the American flag-clad hero calls out to his peer.
Enji, I know you're not on the best of terms with me, but...
he tries to say before the phoenix rises from the rubble.
I get it! Just shut up and let's win this!
Thanks again to the Outcasts and Rejects for watching to the end of the video. This video gets 80 likes in 2 weeks, we'll continue this series. Other than that, if you have any questions about the series or channel, sound off in the comments or feel free to join our Discord. Thanks again.